Welcome to another Nick's project. Sorry it's been such a long time since I've done one of these. The truth is I'm not really a YouTuber, I just do this in my spare time and when work permits. But today I've changed my car, I've got a Tesla Model X now. It's only been with me for about a month. It's 5 years old, it's got 26,000 miles, and I've noticed when the suspension is in the high position, I get this annoying squeaky sound when I go over a curb or bumps in the road, and it's really annoying because I'm really conscious of it because of course it's an electric car, it's otherwise absolutely silent. So when you've got passengers and you're going over bumps and it's like, well, it's not really what you bought a Tesla for. But it turns out I'm not the only person with this problem. Thousands of people with Model 3s, Model Ys, S's and X's are all getting the same problem because there is a common part that fails on these cars, and it's in the front suspension, and it's very, very easy to fix. Now Tesla quote anything from £400 a wheel here in the UK to actually replace the element of the suspension that's squeaking. But I found a way, and I've seen also quotes online up to like £1,500 for both to be done at the front. And of course it's a part that will fail again in a very short amount of time. Some people get it at 200,000 miles, some people get it, like me, at 26,000 miles. I think with me, it's just starting. Now, there's a very simple fix I'm going to show you today. It's going to cost you £25. I'm going to link to all the bits that you need, and you're going to see in this video it will take no time at all to do it. I've done some research. I found loads of left-hand drive versions, people in the States doing this, but there's no one doing it in the UK. So I thought, well, our stuff is slightly different here. I'll show how you can do it here. I'll link to UK products and hopefully give you an alternative perspective. And I'm going to do it slightly differently. So this is the actual problem. It's this tiny little rubber seal at the bottom here is filled with grease. And the problem is water gets in the top here and eventually washes out the grease through the very bottom, and this becomes a dry joint, and that's where you get your squeak. For me, it's really accentuated when the car's in the high suspension mode. But today, all I'm going to do is I'm going to inject grease into this rubber vessel, and I'm going to reseal the top here, and I'm going to put a little patch over the injection hole, and that should give me several thousand miles, you know, 5 to 10,000 miles of squeak-free driving, and then I will simply do it again. But I will report back in the future to tell you whether or not it works. But a point on why I've decided to do the sealing at the top. Yeah, so the sealant at the top of that suspension part I just showed you, I've put the gloves on now because this is dirty stuff. I actually peeled these lumps of sealant off of the top, and they have failed. This is something, if you look online and research, that Tesla put on the top of their suspension as a fix to this problem to stop water getting in the top. But as you can see from that shape, actually it just wears away because it's a constantly moving part. I will replace this sealant. I've got some black flexible sealant that I'm going to use, but you can see in both cases that circular hole at the top there is exactly where this stuff has worn away, and it's just allowed the water to get in anyway. But still, it's going to do something better than nothing. Let's go through all the bits that I am going to use today. First of all, I've got a sealant gun and some black flexible sealant. Very simple. I don't think this is a permanent fix to the problem. With the parts I just showed you, it's certainly not, but I will use it again. I've also got some scrub and clean wipes here because we are going to be using grease. And that's very important that we get the gloves as well. Once the grease gets on you, it gets everywhere. So I'm getting some blue roll. You can pick this up at your local Screwfix, but if I can find some on Amazon, I'll link it for you there as well. This is the main thing that we're going to use today. This is a grease gun. This is a fairly cheap grease gun. I got it on Amazon, and it comes with 2 cartridges of lithium grease, which will be perfect for this job. So everything you need is in the box, and look at that, it even comes with a pair of disposable gloves that you can use. But that said, I've got a whole box because I get through these things like crazy. They just rip, they tear, so it's worth having a few spares. And most importantly, the other thing that I will link to are these tiny little attachments for the grease gun, which are a bit like a hypodermic syringe. Oh, I can't even get it out. it's a very, very sharp, very thin hollow tube with a point on the end, so you can actually inject into that rubber boot, and that will allow you to get the grease in there fairly cleanly without making a big hole. And then at the end, I'm going to tape that up. And I think the best tape to use is probably going to be an aluminium tape, because it sticks really strongly. It will give me a very clear indicator where I made the hole when I need to top it up. And other than giving that rubber seal a good old wipe with some of these big wipes, I'm then going to finally use a just like a one of these sterilizing cloths, just to make sure I've got a really clean surface for the tape to go on, and indeed the sealant on the top, so it really grabs the surface. Right, so let's get started. Okay, so let's start with this grease gun. It's pretty good value for the money, this. It seems to be a lot of metal. So the way these work, you simply unscrew this cartridge container and plunger. You pull back this handle, and that opens the chamber completely. Then these little cartridges, it's not very clear in their instructions, but you've got an end that's open that shows grease, and it very clearly says on the side, insert this end first. So that goes in like that. And then of course this side has got a seal on it, and you certainly don't want any aluminium getting through. So I'm going to use that little pin that I had to pierce that and open it up a little bit. So this is there we go. So that just enables me to now get a finger in, and this is a good reason for the gloves, and just peel that silver back, that foil seal, and now that's nice and clear and ready to be loaded into the gun. There's a little bit of resistance as it goes in, because obviously it needs pressure, so it comes out. Oh, goodness me. It's always fun doing these things on camera for the first time. That's it, it's gone now. Okay, so it kind of works back to front. I'm going to get rid of those gloves a second. So yeah, you've got the option of putting that one in, or I'm going to go for the solid one, which is in this little accessories bag. So you just feed that through the handle and screw it in. And in the box, you've got this kind of barrel attached to the nut. That goes on here. Tighten everything up, only finger tight, that's fine. You don't need to go crazy with it. You don't need to get out a spanner. And then finally, the little point, you certainly don't want to poke yourself with that. That sticks in at the end and should just pop in. It's a bit, this is like a grease nipple adapter on the end here, so you can adjust it backwards and forwards, and then you can tighten it down. And now, hopefully, with any luck, I'll get a bit of tissue and we'll try and get some grease actually coming through this needle. There we go, it's just starting to come. And you can see there, that's how the grease will inject into that tiny little rubber seal. Right, let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is just really try and clean this up a bit. Not that it really needs it, but I think if you're making a hole in something and injecting grease, the last thing you want is the opportunity for any mud or dirt or grease to enter that space. Also, by giving it a clean, this is one of those big wipes I showed you. It is cutting back any grease or nastiness there. So I'll go over with a clean one of these at the end, and that will make sure I've got a good surface for putting on the sealant. Right, that looks pretty good. Let's get injecting. Always feels a bit strange doing things like this, injecting my brand new lovely Tesla, or brand new at least to me. But I'm going to go for about there. Oh, yep, straight in. And I'm just going to pump it up. What I'm going to try and do, I don't want to make two holes. I've seen some people doing it by making a hole the other side, and as they pumped in, water sprayed out, you know. But I just want to fill it with grease all the way around, and you can. It's almost like reverse liposuction. You can put this little pin either side of the joint, and of course it's going to take, you know, a good kind of 20-30 miles I think for this stuff to wear its way around. So I'm just going to come around this side now and go around the back. You can feel with the pin And by the way, the kit that I'm using comes with 3 of these little injectors. So if you do snap one or bend one, as long as you get it out of this seal, you'll be all right. Oh, yeah, it's quite tough to actually inject it in. It's a very tight space. I don't really know how much to put in, but at the moment that's really baggy. There's nothing in there, so I'm going to go for it. You can actually see it is beginning to fill. It's widening, so there's a lot going in. But I'm not going to lie to you, pumping grease through a little tiny pin like that, it needs a bit of effort. So yeah, you've definitely got enough probably in one of the tubes to do both sides. And I will do both sides today, but you can see that's really widening out now. Yeah, that is filling. So I'm going to go around this side again. It's weird how you kind of feel your way round. Ah, that's interesting. Can you see it's actually starting to come out of the hole now? Right, so you can see there the little point where the grease is coming out. And that's where I'm going to clean up, ready to put a little seal across it, a little aluminium tape seal, so it points it out next time. Going to make sure it's nice and clean up here for the silicone. Well, it's not actually silicone, it's a flexible kind of rubber sealant. And then I'll get over to the other side and we'll have a look at that one as well. This stuff obviously dissolves sealant and sticky stuff. So I am going to go over it with that alcohol wipe as well, just to make sure it's cut back and there's nothing nasty there that's going to stop good adhesion of both the tape and the sealant. Gloves off for this bit because it's all been cleaned through. That's just the alcohol wipe to make sure it's something that I can really stick to. Now for that little square of aluminium tape. Oh, it is sticky stuff. Really sticky stuff. But that has now sealed off that hole to stop anything getting in. And I honestly believe that, you know, with rainwater and splash and mud and all the rest of it, that will hold pretty firm. It's got flexibility in it. That'll be fine. And, you know, it's just worth trying. I think it will be okay. Now for that lovely black sealant. And it's just that top part that I want to really get covered. Bit disgusting, but I find a bit of spit on your finger works wonders when you're treating this stuff and manipulating it round. So this top, for what it's worth, is a hard component, so this stuff will stick. And it just helps stop get any moisture in the top. But I don't expect this will last for long. But it's easily peeled off and replaced. So yeah, I mean, I'll just make a note. I'll have another look at it when I get to 30,000 miles and see if I need to sort it. But that will now repel any rainwater, mud or rubbish from that top entry point. And this is why you need gloves, because that stuff doesn't wash off. And of course, yes, a bin bag to keep it all together. That's one side done. Let's do the other. Okay, so now for the driver's side, you can see I've turned the wheel right out so I can get access. And yeah, of course, this is a right-hand drive. I'm sure our friends across the Atlantic would say it's a wrong-hand drive. But in this country, we do have our steering wheels on the right. So this is the driver's side. But this is still a California car. That's where it was made. Okay, right. So I'm going to start again, giving it a good old clean up. You've seen all of this. So this will be a much shortened version of what I did the other side. I do think it's worth, when you do anything like this, if you can clean up the area before you start making holes and injecting, then yeah, it's got to be a better job at the end of the day, hasn't it? And that sealant going on the top there, I think, you know, I think there's a good chance my squeak will have disappeared by the time I finish this. Yeah, it's interesting to see just how narrow this gap is, how little grease is actually in there. I'm obviously about to eject this side, but the other side was really chunked up, wasn't it? And well, this one's going to be as well. So I'm going to go in just here. There we go. And start pumping. Of course, you've got to be very careful that you don't pierce your tyre or indeed the other side of the bump. This it's not a bump stop at all, isn't it? It's I don't know what to call it, a little rubber sleeve around. Effectively, there's a ball joint in there, so it's a metal ball set inside a socket. It's starting to fill up now. What I would say is be careful when you take the grease gun out that you don't go all the way out, because I did that and it's almost impossible to find the same hole again. And you know what I should have done is stick some of that aluminium tape on first, pierced through the aluminium, which would have given me a very clear guide to where it was, because it's taken me nearly 10 minutes to find this hole again. Obviously we've not featured that because it's not gripping viewing, but you know, that's what happens with these jobs. Of course, it's taken quite a lot, this one. It's very dry. So again, I'm just kind of moving it round, moving the pin rounds, making sure that the grease gets all the way around that ball joint. You can see that is really starting to expand as well, the rubber sleeve. I've got a different name for it every time. We've got my friend's phone here as well, illuminating the scene for you. As thrilling as a scene as it is. Do you know what? I think what I'm going to do now, because I can see it's really fat at the back and absolutely packed with grease, is I'm going to work that through with my fingers round to make sure that it's got a good even coating all the way around. In fact, what I could use is this little adapter that it comes with. If you pull it either side, you can pull it round, look, and manipulate the grease. I might have a little go on the other side with this in a minute. Manipulate the grease right round that rubber sleeve, that's what I'm going to call it. So you're almost squidging it round, making sure you've got a good 360 coating. 360 degree coating around that ball joint. Right, I can see my point here because the grease is now seeping out of it, so that will do for now. Again, just going in with that alcoholic wipe around the top where the silicone's going on, and on the side here, because I want really good adhesion for that aluminium tape to really seal off that point of entry. So again, you can see that's the aluminium tape on, well stuck on there. And I'm just about to put some silicone over this top piece here and seal it off. And then the job is complete. You don't want too much on there, just enough so you can then go in, as I say, with a wet finger and smooth it all down. To make sure that it is well sealed from the elements and any spray from below. But I just don't see this holding any more than the Tesla fitted silicone held. It just comes off. But if it was there before, I'll put it back on. So there we have it. If you're not filming it, this job would take you about 20 minutes, I'm guessing. It's really not that involved at all. And I should say, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a professional in any form of my DIY projects at all. But if you have seen my other videos on this channel, you'll know that the repairs I do make are lasting repairs and the modifications that I do. And I do genuinely get a kick out of saving a bit of money. In this case, well, it could be like £1,000 I've saved doing this for £25. So definitely worth a go. Apologies again. My videos aren't always that regular. I fit them in where I can, but your subscriptions mean everything, and they do entice me to get the camera out with my mate and film these when I do come up with more crazy ideas. So thanks as always. Please do link and subscribe, or like and subscribe even, and we'll see you in the next one.